What is up, everyone? It's David. Welcome back to Gem and MTG, where we talk about graded Magic the Gathering cards. Today is another episode of the Graded Magic Market Review, where we talk about all things in the world of the graded marketplace. We're going to go over real-world sales that have happened in the last couple months or so. Been a couple months since we did one of these. We're basically going to take a look at sales that have happened and analyze those sales based on the multiple that those sales generated for the grade that they received. Big welcome to all the new subscribers. Got a lot of new subscribers lately, so if this is your first market review, welcome. And without any further ado, let's get right into this. Getting started off here with our Modern Duel Spotlight. So this is basically cards that were printed after the reserved list ended. That's how I define modern cards for the sake of these market reviews. Getting started off here with our first card, Oblivion Stone, Kaladesh Inventions. So I've talked about Kaladesh Inventions a lot. I love these cards. This is a BGS 9 Oblivion Stone that's sold for $225. Near mint, they're running at just over $100, multiple of 1.45. So most BGS 9s sell for around a 25 to 50% premium. Normally, some more, some less. So this falls right in the range of what you would expect. But I really love these Kaladesh Inventions. I think they're very special cards. I don't see Wizards reprinting them. And 45% premium for this card, I think, is a nice multiple for the Oblivion Stone. Moving on. All right, take a look at this. This is crazy. I was just so excited to get into this card. Hidetsugu, Devouring Chaos, BGS 10, Pristine. These are so rare. The BGS 10s and the Neon Inks are pretty rare. There's actually a lot more on the market than I realized when I was doing my research for this video. I didn't realize how many were in stock and available. Go check Card Kingdom. There's actually a lot of these available. They're not as rare as I thought, but this card sold for almost $2,500. The near mints on these are around 75 to 100, 150, depending on which color ink it is. The red one is a lot more. BGS 10 red would have sold for a lot more than 2,500, I think. But figure they're around 100, 150 bucks or so, multiple 20x. This is crazy. BGS 10s command a really, really strong premium. So it doesn't surprise me. There's a lot of BGS 10s that sell for a crazy multiple. And when it's a really unique card like this, a very rare, printing, this is the first time Wizards has done neon ink cards. It doesn't surprise me too much that a card like this could sell for $2,500. And with the BGS 10, there's really no rhyme or reason to the multiple. Generally, it's what someone is willing to pay. And in this case, it was about $2,500 for a Hidetsugu, Devouring Chaos, green neon ink. Crazy. Okay, moving on to the Silver Age Spotlight. So Silver Age is basically everything in the Mirage, Tempest, and Urza's block. That's how I define the Silver Age. Still had reserved list cards, but not quite those vintage cards from earlier sets, like from the years of 1993 to 1995. So getting started off here with the Academy Rector from Urza's Legacy. This is a foil Academy Rector from Urza's Destiny. This BGS 9 sold for $760. Now, this one is an interesting one. Sold for $760. Near mint, they're running about $820-ish. Really hard to find these in truly near mint condition. But when you adjust for the grading fee, it gives you a multiple of 0.87x. So there's a couple things about this card. I felt like this card went for a little too low. I think this was a great pickup. I personally didn't see this auction. This is a 9 quad plus. It has excellent subgrades. It's a very beautiful card. I felt like this was a pretty low price. I think whoever bought this card got a great deal. I think whoever sold this card probably felt like they didn't get a great deal for their money. And I think the near mints on these are a little bit high. The near mint asking prices on these is pushing $800. That's really expensive. It's a very iconic reserve list card. But I feel like 820 is pretty high. So it wouldn't surprise me if once the market strengthens a little bit and just like the overall economy in general strengthens a little bit, that a card like this would probably go for closer to $1,000. That's personally how I would value this card, is around $1,000. So I was pretty surprised to see the selling price on this at just $760, but it gives you a multiple of 0.87. Let's move on to some more Silver Age cards. City of Traitors from Exodus. This BGS 9.5 sold for $620. Near mint, they're running about $225, a multiple of 2.25x. So that's around what you would expect for a BGS 9.5. Generally, they're in the 2 to 3, sometimes 4x range, or even higher. You can get some crazy multiples, but generally they're in the 2 to 3x range, especially for Silver Age cards like this. They generally fall in a pretty consistent pattern for non-foil Silver Age reserve list cards. They're around 2 to 3x. So it doesn't surprise me at all that the City of Traitors pulled $620. Good sale. Good sale. Strong sales on these. Moving on to Grim Monolith from Urza's Legacy. So very similar numbers here. Higher near mint average at 300, but a higher selling price at 859. Multiple of around 2.5. So once again, in that 2 to 3x range, pretty consistent here. Grim Monolith is a very iconic card. And doesn't surprise me at all that cards like this in BGS 9.5 condition are pushing almost $1,000. Let's move on to one of the, if not the most iconic Silver Age card. It's definitely up there with Gaia's Cradle. BGS 9.5 Mox Diamond from Stronghold sold for $1,725. Near mint, they're about $685. Adjust for the grading fee, gives you a multiple of 2.35x. So once again, in that 2 to 3 range, nothing out of the ordinary here. This is what you would expect to pay. I think with Mox Diamonds in BGS 9.5 condition, around 1,750 to 2,000. If it's a quad or a quad plus or something like that, you're probably pushing over 2,000 into the 2,500 range. So it doesn't surprise me at all. This is exactly what I would expect a Mox Diamond in BGS 9.5 condition to sell for. All right, moving on. So I've talked about 7th edition foils on this channel. We had a whole talk about it, Saint and I. And I wanted to include this card because I think it's an example of an extremely strong sale of a 7th edition foil card. There's a lot of people who really like cards like this. They're not my particular cup of tea, but they have actually a really good following, and I felt like this was an incredible sale to talk about. So this Lord of Atlantis 7th edition foil in 9.5 condition sold for $5,000. Near mint, they're running up just over 400, gives you a multiple of 10.44x. So this is the case of a 9.5 selling for a crazy multiple, but there's a few things to diagnose here. It's a 7th edition foil. They are extremely rare. Some people say just as rare or rarer than alpha cards. It's a very low population cards. There's only a couple of these that exist in the world. So if you're one of those people that's going for a 9.5 set of 7th edition foils, this is an extremely attractive card for you. Who knows when the next time that a new one will be graded in 9.5 condition, and the next time that one will come up for sale. So when set collectors or people who are really interested in cards like this, when one of these comes up, truly the sky is the limit. And you can see that here with the Lord of Atlantis foil selling for $5,000. It's crazy. Crazy stuff. Okay, that's the last Silver Age card here. Let's move on to the Vintage Spotlight. So this is the juicy stuff. This is the stuff that we all love, the vintage cards. Let's get started off here with Mox Pearl, the Collector's Edition. So this 9.5 Collector's Edition Mox Pearl sold for almost $4,000. Near mint, they're running about $975. Adjust for the grading fee, a multiple of 3.85x. So into that upper range of 2 to 3, up to 4. Really strong sale here. I have to say, I'm actually really surprised that somebody paid almost $4,000 for a collector's edition Mox Pearl. Very strong sale. Great multiple on this. Whoever sold this, I feel like they got a very, very good price for their card. Moving on, Arabian Nights, everybody's favorite set to collect. Arabian Nights Kird Ape sold for $153. Near mint, they're about 16 bucks. It's not a very expensive card. This is a common card, but it's an Arabian card in gem in condition. And those will pull the exact same multiples as a card like City of Traitors or Grim Monolith. Both of those cards were around 2.5 multiples. This Kird Ape was 2.32. So just same kind of range that you would expect for any other card, but people love their Arabian cards. So you can even have a common card from Arabian Nights in 9.5 condition sell for $150. I talked about Metamorphosis on this channel not that long ago, and there was a Metamorphosis in 9.5 condition that sold for over $200. So people love their Arabian Nights cards. Doesn't surprise me at all that even the lowly Kird Ape can command the same multiple as any other reserve list card. All right, speaking of iconic Arabian Nights cards, this is probably the granddaddy of them all. Probably between this, the Juzam Jin, and the Bazaar of Baghdad. But this is the Library of Alexandria from Arabian Nights in BGS 9.5 condition, sold for $9,299. Near mint, they're about $38.76. Adjust for the grading fee, gives you a multiple of 2.37x. So, once again, just like you would expect, 2 to 3, maybe pushing 4x for a 9.5 card. But a card with a near mint value of almost $4,000, pulling the same multiple as a card like Grim Monolith that's only worth a couple $100, there's something to be said there. I've talked about it many times on this channel. If you're new to this channel, you maybe have not heard it before, but if you have, bear with me. Generally speaking, as the near mint average price of the card increases, your multiple will decrease. Number of reasons for that. Generally, the effect on the wallet is real. You're not going to get a 4 or 5x or 10x multiple in the case of Lord of Atlantis. Nobody is going to pay $38,000 for a 9.5 Library of Alexandria. Also unrealistic that someone is going to pay $15,000 to $20,000 for a Library of Alexandria. So a 2.37 multiple, getting almost 2.5 times a card that's already worth almost $4,000 is actually a very strong multiple. So even though it is one of the most iconic Arabian Nights cards, and you might think, wow, that's gotta have the highest multiple. If it was a quad or a quad plus, absolutely, it probably could. There are some very particular set collectors who would pay a very pretty penny for a quad Library of Alexandria. But generally speaking, a basic 9.5 like this is going to be in that same range, just like all of the other cards we talked about in that 2 to 3x range. So it doesn't surprise me at all that the Library of Alexandria sold for a 2.37 multiple. But still, I mean, this is a Library of Alexandria selling for almost $10,000. Very strong sale. Awesome card. Absolutely love the card. That Mark Pool artwork is just, wow. It's one of the coolest Magic cards of all time. Now, banned card. I can't say the name. Maybe I can say the name. It's Stone Throwing Devils from Arabian Nights. Another Arabian Nights card. So Stone Throwing Devils has become a notorious card because it's on Wizards, ban list for cultural whatever reasons. But this 9.5 sold for $821. Near mint, they're running about $90. It's a crazy multiple. Hang on, I have a typo here. Give me a second here. Let me pull out my handy dandy calculator. 90 plus 821. 5.86. Okay, 5.86 multiple on the Stone Throwing Devils. That's crazy. And I think it's one of those things where the card has become notorious. This is the dark mana symbol. So there's different printings of cards in Arabian Nights where you have light and dark mana symbols for the cards. So people who are collecting the set Arabian Nights, they will try to have both the light and the dark versions of cards. So this is the dark version of the card. I'm not an expert on that. I've said it before. I honestly don't know, and I personally don't care that much about the light versus dark mana symbols, but I know that it's very important for some people. So I think that that could be a factor in why this card sold for such a high price, but I'm not really going to comment or speculate on that because I honestly don't know. But another thing that I think is that it's become a notorious card because of Wizards' stance on the card and the fact that it is banned. So that's all I'm going to say about the Stone Throwing Devils. Let's move on to a truly heavy hitter. Look at this, the Alpha Time Vault in BGS 9.5 condition. Sold for $17,600. Near mint, just about any alpha card, there's a couple alpha cards in here, just about any alpha card, it truly is hard to put a for sure near mint price on these. It's very hard to find alpha cards in truly near mint condition for sale on the open market. But I'd say it's around $5,600. Gives you a multiple of 3.13. So once again, in that 2 to 3x range. But like I talked about with the Library of Alexandria, getting like a 3x multiple on a card that's worth $5,000 is really good. That is fantastic. But it's an alpha card, and just like Arabian Nights, Alpha and Arabian Nights are, two very unique special sets that really have a strong following in the Magic community, particularly in the graded collector community. People love their alpha cards, they love their Arabian Nights cards, and they will pay a very, very high price for those cards in especially 9.5 condition. So it doesn't surprise me that an iconic card with that beautiful Mark Teton artwork could sell for $17,600. This truly is a piece of Magic history. I think that the person who bought it, I think they got a good price for it. Cards like this, this is like a Power 10 card. Most people consider this kind of like the 10th power that just never made it onto the Power 9 list. This card is absolutely insane. So to think that you were able to purchase a 9.5 piece of alpha power for $17,000, yeah, it's a lot of money, but when you compare that to a Mox Sapphire or an Ancestral Recall, it kind of puts it into perspective at just how much a card like this, in my opinion, truly is worth and will continue to grow into the future. Really cool sale, though. Absolutely love the card. Let's move on to something a little more and more people's price range. Nightmare from Revised. Look at this. This is crazy. So this Revised Nightmare, 9.5, sold for $400. This is insane. I have talked about Revised a lot on this channel. I'm a big fan of Revised. I have a lot of graded Revised cards. I've purchased graded Revised cards. I've graded my own Revised cards a lot. I feel like it's an undervalued, underappreciated set. And when I see sales like this, it just reinforces that belief for me 100%. There's people who absolutely love these. This is a vintage Magic card. People who say the Revised is printed into Oblivion and there's a million of these, running around in absolutely pristine condition. I don't believe that at all. I think the market has got this wrong for a long time. And something that I talked about with Saint in that interview, he himself has purchased literally millions of Revised cards, searching them to grade the absolute best copies. And he's talked about how it's not as easy as you think. Revised, yes, it was a higher print run, but the cards, they're just not as easy to find as you think in absolutely pristine gem mint condition. So I think that cards like this, cards like Nightmare, this is a very iconic card. Anybody who was playing in 93, 94, 95, if you had a black deck, Nightmare was in it. You absolutely wanted it. It was such a powerful, awesome, unique card with that Melissa Benson artwork with the flaming Nightmare horse. It's so cool. It's so iconic, and I don't care that it's from Revised. Yes, the Unlimiteds are awesome, and obviously Beta and Alpha is cool, but Nightmare, even from Revised, can pull $400. That's a 7x multiple. That's crazy. A year or two ago, if you said that somebody was going to buy a Nightmare from Revised for $400, people would have said you're insane. There's no way. But you know what? Somebody out there bought a Nightmare for $7, paid $50 to grade it, and sold it for $400. I think it's awesome. I think it's absolutely awesome. I love seeing sales like this. I think it bodes very well for the future. And I think it just shows that, what is considered, vintage gradable Magic cards is it's always evolving, and the market is changing. So really cool sale on the Revised Nightmare. Moving back to Alpha, so take a look at this. So Lord of the Pit from Alpha, 9.5 condition, sold for $4,900, almost $5,000. Near mint, they're about $2,000. Alpha Hoarder, if you're watching, shout out Alpha Hoarder. He could probably tell you how much a near mint Lord of the Pit costs. But I dug around a little bit. I saw some pretty clean copies for around $2,000. So just for the grading fee, gives you a multiple of 2.39. So once again, in that 2 to 3x range that you would expect to pay for a BGS 9.5. It's not a reserve list card, but like I said, I'm not going to say everything I said about Alpha again, but it's just a special set. People absolutely love it. So even on a $2,000 card, someone would pay almost $5,000 for it. All right, that brings us to our last card, the granddaddy of them all, the Black Lotus. So this Black Lotus from Unlimited, BGS 9 Quad Plus. You can see it has 9 on all of the subgrades, 9.5 on the surface. This card sold for $35,000. Look at that. Crazy. Near mint, they're running about, once again, obviously it's hard enough to find vintage cards in near mint condition available on the open market, much less a Black Lotus. So it's very hard to find a near mint price on these. But what I used as a reference point was a PSA 7 that I saw for about $23,000. So I felt like that was a good comparison to use because a PSA 7 is considered a near mint card. Adjust for the grading fee, gives you a multiple of 1.52. So like I said, BGS 9s, generally you're not going to get 2x your money or 2 or 3x your money on a 9. But generally you're always going to get around 10, 25, 50%. So this is a 1.5 multiple, 52% premium for this unlimited Black Lotus at $35,000. This is an awesome sale. I think I saw this sale, and the first thing that it made me think is this market is still strong. This market is still healthy. There is still a lot of people who are putting a lot of money into this passion, into this hobby that we all share. And the Black Lotus, it's the ultimate Magic card that you can own. I don't have one. I hope that I own one day. Maybe one day on this channel you'll see me with the Black Lotus, but it's the ultimate card. And seeing a Black Lotus in 9 condition sell for $35,000, to me it just speaks volumes of the strength and stability of the vintage graded Magic card market. I think that whoever got this card, I think they got it for a good price. This is Magic history. This is collectible history. This is TCG, CCG history. That is it's so special, and I don't think it's possible to overstate just how iconic the Black Lotus is. And the fact that they're still pulling $30,000 even in the worst of times that we're going through right now with inflation and the economy and everything else, seeing a Black Lotus sell for $35,000, I think should give you a good feeling about the strength and stability and the health of the graded Magic marketplace. So that's the last card that we're going to go through today. Thanks for sticking with me if you're still here at the end. I really appreciate you. I love doing market updates like this. I try to do them once a month. Got another one coming up soon. There's been a lot of activity on the market. It's been a crazy time in the world, in the United States, and it's really interesting to me to see how, the market for these cards that we all love, how it fares in these turbulent times. And after looking at all of these sales and analyzing them and taking a look at how similar copies have sold in the past, I do really think that the market is strong, the market is healthy, it's stable. Has there been softening in some areas? Yeah, obviously there's going to be that, in any market in a time like this. But when you see cards like Nightmare selling for $400, when you see cards like Black Lotus selling for $35,000, when you see Lord of Atlantis selling for thousands and thousands of dollars, and all of those other cards, the Hidetsugu Neon Ink for $2,500, these cards are still commanding a strong premium. There's still a market. People are still buying and selling, collecting, grading. The market is strong. Stay positive. Don't let the negativity get to you. Have fun collecting. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. To all my new subscribers, welcome. And there's going to be more to come on Gem Mint MTG. But for now, that is the graded Magic market review. Till next time, have a great one.